Hey guys, my name's Kurtis and this is my wife Chelsey. And recently we went on a family trip to Krakow, Poland for my grandparents' 56th anniversary. Can you imagine being married 56 years? Like, I'm not even 56 years old yet. I don't even know what it's like to be alive for that long.
We haven't even been married for 2 years and it's felt long, so.
As long as 2 years of my life.
No, please.
Anyway, that's just crazy. So if there's anybody else out there that's celebrating a 56, a 50th, a 30, any anniversary, happy anniversary.
Anyway, before we went to Krakow, we knew absolutely nothing about Poland. Nada, zilch, zero, none. Which means that we had no expectations at all.
The only thing that we really knew about it is that my grandparents loved it. And like within the last, 5 years, they went 3 times or 12.
I think this was our third time for
This is their third time coming in 5 years, and they can't stop talking about it. The sun rises and sets in Poland, according to my grandma. I remember a story that my grandma was telling me about my grandma and grandpa being out in the square in Poland, and they're sitting there eating dinner, and my grandpa looks over at my grandma and says that this is the best trip that they've ever been on.
Aww.
Which is pretty cute and super romantic. But these two are world travelers. They've been all around the world. They've been to Italy, they've been to France, they've been to London, they've been to Mexico, Hawaii,
Lebanon.
And at one point they even used to live in the Yukon in Canada.
So for them to say that they loved this place so much, we had to check it out for ourselves.
So to say that these two are seasoned world travelers would be a bit of an understatement.
And guess what? They were right. From the minute you walk into Old Town Krakow, your jaw hits the ground. The square is full of amazing, well-kept architecture. There's musicians playing accordions and romantic carriage rides all through the square. All you can hear is the clip-clop of the horses.
All of the streets spider out from the square where you can find restaurants, pubs, ice cream shops, and be sure to indulge, because one thing about Poland is not on the euro. They're on their own currency called the zloty. And compared to the Canadian dollar, it's about 3 to 1. So for every $1 Canadian, you get about 3 zlotys. So you can really stretch your dollar while you're there.
When we were eating a typical dinner for 7 people, it would cost us between $70 to $100 for all of us to eat.
For 7 people.
And don't forget to get a photo of all of the birds flying around the basilica. You couldn't ask for better photo conditions. And don't worry, no matter what angle you take the photo at, the basilica always looks gorgeous. I don't know what it is about pigeons flying around old architecture, but it's the only time pigeons look romantic.
Speaking of birds, we recommend stopping at one of the many pretzel stands that's around the square. Grab a pretzel for like 50 cents, chop it up into little pieces, and then you can go and feed all the pigeons.
Along with us on the trip was one of our favorite little cousins who absolutely loved to feed all of the birds. No birds left unfed was definitely a motto of the trip.
We must have bought her like 10 or 15 pretzels while she was there, and she would feed every single bird. Just a short walk away in the middle of the square, you can find the market. At this market, you can find everything from sweets to handmade goods and apparel. Lucky enough, we were also able to catch the pierogi fest, which is exactly what it sounds like. Stands and stands of different pierogi vendors with an unimaginable amount of pierogies and different flavors and dessert pierogies and breakfast pierogies and all the pierogies.
This was a competition, so they were getting pretty creative with their pierogies. What more could you ask for out of a trip to Poland?
Interestingly enough, the pierogi with potato and cheese in it that we're used to is not a Polish pierogi, that's a Russian pierogi.
We learned something.
The Polish pierogi has shredded meat in it. It's also very good. About a 10-minute walk or a 2-minute scooter ride away is Wawel Castle, which is free to enter, but be sure to go first thing in the morning because this place gets absolutely packed during the day. This 16th century castle is a World Heritage Site and is beautiful inside and is a must-see. This castle has seen a lot, from 16th century dragons to Nazi invasions to, more recently, tourists. Lots and lots of tourists.
So there you have it. This is what Old Town Krakow looks like and some of the things you can do there. But like we said, when we first headed off to Poland, we were pretty green in the gills. So we'd like to share with you a few things that we wished we maybe knew before we went.
Doesn't green in the gills mean sick?
I think you're correct. One more time. So there you have it. This is what Old Town Krakow looks like and some of the things you can do there. Like I said before, we were a little bit green when we showed up to Poland, so we want to share with you some of the things that we maybe wish we knew before we went.
The first of which is the currency. Like I said earlier, Poland is not on the euro. They're on what's called the zloty. And compared to the Canadian dollar, it's 3-to-1, which makes it very inexpensive. Although I will say that closer to the square where it's really touristy, prices are a bit more expensive than usual. So we found around the square that it was more Canadian pricing when you go to eat out or have a drink or something like that. But the further you get away from the square, the cheaper it gets.
It's actually crazy how much of a price difference it makes to walk 2 blocks away from the main square.
You go from having a $7 beer to maybe a $3 or $4 beer if you walk a little bit further.
Vegetables, with the exception of potatoes, seem to be very rare. It was a very meat and starch based diet there. Lots of dumplings, lots of potatoes, lots of meat.
Which is very good.
Oh, it was all delicious, but...
But you're gonna have trouble finding vegetables.
Yeah, don't go on a diet, it's not worth it. There's a lot of history in Krakow and Poland, but not all of it is easy to swallow. Poland has very significant World War II ties, so if you are a history buff, this is a haven for you. From Krakow, there's lots of great places that you can visit, like Auschwitz, Birkenau, the Jewish ghetto, Schindler's Factory. We didn't realize, we knew going that there was going to be lots of history, but I don't think that we were prepared for how much history was really there. We learned more on this vacation than I think I've ever learned traveling somewhere else.
We visited all the places that Chelsey just spoke about, but we didn't really feel right sticking around making a lot of video. So there's no video about that. It's very interesting and well worth a visit. It was always on our bucket list to go to a place like Auschwitz to really see the history and the impact that a place like that had on the world.
So it's our understanding that some English is mandatory in Polish schools. So almost everyone, if not everyone we encountered, had really good English, which is very fortunate because Polish seems to be an incredibly hard language to decipher, both spoken and written.
Yeah, you know when you go to like being English, you go to like Mexico or even, I don't know, any Latin country, Italy, you can kind of like piece together some words that you see, like, give me one. That's like a English word that's almost Spanish. Spaghetti.
I'm trying to think of an example and I can't, but I know what you mean. Taqueria. Taco. Frick, we sound so dumb.
Okay, forget it.
I can't think of an example.
All I'll say is that Polish is a ridiculously hard language to read and to speak, and there's like no similarities between English and Polish, so it's a really good thing that almost everybody there does speak some English.
It's never a bad idea when you're traveling to a new country to try to pick up a few phrases.
Yeah, good luck.
We always have a good time asking the locals to teach us a few things.
Guess what we learned on this one? Zero.
No, we learned a few things.
Like what?
I don't know. As Kurtis mentioned, we did visit a few places outside of Krakow, like the salt mines, which is beautiful, take that in, and we toured a couple concentration camps. Tours to these places were really easy to find. Along the highly tourist areas like Old Town Krakow, there are many tour booths. There are many tour companies. So you can go there, book your tour for the day. They picked us up from the same location that we booked our tours from and dropped us off. And this included transportation and our entry into these places. Most of the tours that we went on were all-day tours, and they cost about $50 a person.
Generally, Chelsey and I don't like to take a lot of tours, but places like the salt mines and Auschwitz, Birkenau, you pretty much have to take a tour to go. So if you want to go see these places, unfortunately, you're going to be stuck with a tour all day.
Yeah.
But that's just the way it goes.
For example, in the salt mines, we were fortunate enough because the tour company already had selected times to go. If you were an individual showing up there, your wait times were going to be upwards of 3 hours. Meanwhile, we got in a much shorter period of time.
So the last point that we'll talk about is cleanliness. Poland is probably the cleanest country I have ever been to. In the first thing in the morning when you wake up, there's street sweepers on the street and on the sidewalks. They're everywhere. They're constantly picking up garbage, especially in the square. Like, the streets look like they were polished every day. There was a reflection off of them at all times. It was fantastic.
There wasn't much litter. which goes to one of the streets maybe. No! Okay.
Crickets.
This seems odd to realize, but it wasn't until we were back in Canada and I turned somewhere to find a dumpster and remember thinking anytime I had to put something in the garbage, I felt like I could turn and there was a dumpster right there, which really helped with there not being a lot of litter or garbage in the streets. It had to be really clean for us to pay attention and for us to notice how clean it is. So I know that this is the case with Italy and other European countries as well, but flat, still water was actually really hard to come by.
There's always sparkling or mineral water, which sparkling water is not that bad, but sparkling mineral water is not for me.
Not for me either. Being Canadian, I think that we're used to still water being the default. So
as a tip, you gotta look for the baby water. Baby water is flat, still water. No carbonation, no minerals. So thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button since you're down there, and we'll see you guys on the next video.
We make new videos weekly.
So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button since you're down there. We make new videos weekly, so we'd love to see you next week, and the week after that, and the week after that.
Okay, bye guys!